Good day, ladies and gentlemen. It's Eric Coffin. I am here on Friday, the 9th of September, 2022 in Vancouver at the Vancouver Mental Investors Forum. I'm here with Caleb Stroup. Caleb is the CEO of a company that I follow and own, Headwater Gold. Headwater is a really interesting story. They've only been a public company for a year, I guess, a little more, give or take. Their specialty is high-grade gold in the Western U.S., epithermal mainly. They've been picking up early-stage properties, but they've really had a good hit ratio late last year. Unfortunately, the market was terrible; nobody cared. But you found a imaginative and nice way to get around the market not caring about anything right now issue, and that was to do a very impressive option agreement. Can you give us sort of a thumbnail of that agreement, like who it's with and what the scale of it is?
Yeah, so what happened was we had great success at our Katy project and our Spring Peak project late 2021, early 2022 in a declining market, and realized that it was going to be prohibitive to try to completely finance that solely through traditional equity financings to finance the amount of work that needed to be done. So we went on looking for partners, and we found Newcrest, the Australian producer, who was keen to get involved in a pretty big way. So what we did was structured a strategic partnership with Newcrest, where they took 9.9% equity interest in the company and entered into 4 earn-in agreements on 4 of our projects. We have about 10 projects in the portfolio, right, and they took 4 of them in earn-in agreements that all vary a little bit, but they're all within a similar structure, whereby there's a minimum commitment, cash guaranteed to go into the ground or be paid to us. There's a period where they can spend, a 3-year period where they need to spend, let's just say in the case of Spring Peak, $15 million right, over that 3-year period to get 51%. And the following 3-year period, they need to spend another $40 million to get to a 65% interest. Then following that, they have an option to get up to 75% by completing a pre-feasibility study, right, and giving us a royalty on top of our carried 25% interest.
Yeah, for those of you that aren't familiar with these sort of option agreements, it's a very aggressive option agreement. The numbers are large. And if you look at the time, one thing that I was impressed with and happy to see was, there's $8.5 million US that they have to spend. It's not optional at all. But on top of that, the scale of the spending is such that if these projects are working out, Newcrest is going to have to go pretty hard to hit these spending targets. That's a lot of spending. Like you can't screw around. You're going to have to be out there every season, like boom, 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 if you want to actually earn in. And you put out a release yesterday. Maybe you can give us a quick overview of that. You'll be drilling on 3 properties, but what surprised and impressed me, I guess I expected it, but there was a lot more variety in terms of types of data that you're acquiring and generating. It's not just a matter of the drilling. You guys have obviously been going you must have been going like the second you signed the thing or even before, because you've covered a lot of ground already in terms of different geophysical surveys and stuff. There's a lot of work listed there.
Yeah, so we are underway on a big program right now. And as you say, we're going to be doing a lot of drilling this year, for sure. 3 projects are going to be drilled and pretty substantial drill programs on those projects. But the one thing that you get with a major miner as a partner is a willingness to deploy all sorts of different tools right, on the targeting side, which de-risks everything for us as well. Right. And I didn't mention before, we're operating right, all of these exploration programs, where the operator will collect a 10% management fee on the exploration costs. And so we're very engaged with what's happening on the ground and the targeting that's underway right now. And they appear to be happy to allow us to continue the sorts of exploration that got us here. And now we can scale that up by doing these big geophysical surveys that in a place like Midas North, for instance, where we have a 6-kilometer by 4-kilometer alteration cell, that, there are some indications that there are some, higher intensity portions of it, but still it's very difficult to vector into a discrete drill target, you know. And as you know, in a lot of these cases, you might only have one or two shots in terms of a couple of drill programs to really find something to get somebody motivated. So it's very nice to have all these tools at your disposal and a willingness to spend, like at Midas North again, something like $1 million in pre-drilling work that we could probably never justify spending shareholder capital without drilling a hole in a junior company. But that's going to significantly increase our probability of success in a project like that. Where we know we're in a great high-grade mining district. Yeah. We know we got a great alteration cell, but you still need to vector down to the discrete drill targets where the veins are going to be.
And you know, given the aggressiveness of the structure of the deal, I mean, you're drilling 3 properties, but you know, take Midas North for instance, where you simply have to do that pre-drill work. You know, and there's only so much season. I mean, there's a long list of stuff you guys are doing there, so presumably by the time you're done all of it, there probably won't be time to drill. But your sense is these guys at Newcrest they're pretty aggressive. So I mean, you lay this out after this year's work and go, here's 5 targets. It doesn't sound like these guys are going to be sitting around. It's going to be like, as soon as the snow's off, like, let's go, let's hit this thing.
Yeah, well, the structure of those deals, in the case of Midas North, they need to spend $10 million US in the first 3 years.
Right.
So if we spend 1 this year, that means we need to ramp up in serious drill programs to stay on schedule for that. And all indications are, you know, they're well aware that that's the case, and they're willing to do that.
I mean, that's one thing I really like about this deal is, you know, I mean, a big part of it's Caleb and his team. I mean, they're very talented explorationists. You know, like I said, last year they didn't get a lot of love from the market, but you know, arguably, actually, they made, you know, 2 discoveries out of 4 projects they drilled last year. And you think about the way the Newcrest deal is structured, and you think about the potential of the project and the track record these guys have, and that's what I like about it, because I think there's pretty good odds that at least a couple of these ones, Newcrest goes past the required committed spending, and the way these things are structured, if they go past that, they got to really go hard. Like, these are big budgets. Like, these guys can't screw around. If they're going to stick around on any of these things, they really got to go hard to get to the spending requirement in the time that they've been given. Now, does this leave with so much stuff going on? I mean, there's going to be tons of news flow off these projects. It's not just drilling. There's all these other surveys. There's all kinds of stuff coming. I mean, you option 4 properties still, but you've got 6 other ones. If you haven't tucked away a couple of others, I don't know it yet. But I mean, you don't have any time for, because like you said, you're the operator. Do you have any time for your own stuff, or is it?
Yeah. So as part of this, we're currently scaling up our personnel to accommodate all these programs, and actually, it's a favorable time in the market to do that, with a lot of junior companies, especially running out of money. There's high quality geos that are now looking for the next thing. And a deal like this, especially with these dollar amounts and sort of guaranteed timelines, look pretty attractive for a geo who wants some stability and to be part of a true discovery story. So I expect that we'll have continued success building a great team on top of what we have right now, and that in and of itself will be, I think, a durable competitive advantage for Headwater moving forward. You know, we'll be able to increase the quality of our already solid team in a time that not a lot of people are doing much work.
Now, last year's drilling, I mean, I mentioned that you made 2 discoveries. One of those was Spring Peak, which is optioned. It's part of the Newcrest deal. Another, I guess it depends on who's looking, but I would say arguably the more impressive discovery hole was Katy, which you held back.
Yes.
Do you think you'll be able to get there this year? I mean, how's that look?
Yeah, so Katy is one that we wanted to keep because of that high-grade drill hole that we drilled last year, and it's shallow. It's 100 meters drill depth to the target zone. It's quite straightforward to offset that and relatively low cost. So you get a big bang for your buck there. The project next door, our Mahogany project, which is only 12 kilometers away or something like that, was one of the projects included in the Newcrest earn-in agreements. So we've got a plan to potentially drill both of those in sequence, along with some geophysics on both of those as well. That's still to be determined on timelines. Drill rig availability is loosening up, and assay lab turnaround is loosening up a little bit, but it's still, you can't just order up a drill rig and have it whenever you want. So we're working through some of those details. We've got a couple rigs lined out, but it's a matter of moving all the pieces around it. It makes sense to drill Katy and Mahogany probably in sequence. But what I will say is that with Katy, while this deal was unfolding and taking place, we were busy at Katy doing low cost on the ground work. So what we had was one drill hole, the first drill hole in this target, which was a great hit underneath a good looking outcrop, but it was undercover in both directions. And so what we did was recognize that there was some post-mineral colluvium that covers much of that. And we did an auger program down to the top of bedrock and collected a true sea horizon soil sample in a couple of hundred soils, tight space soils around there. And those results are just coming in right now. And it's looking like we were fairly successful. And our goal was to add scale to what was a very good looking intercept, very good looking structure, outcrop. The question was, is this one little tiny thing, or does it have, say, a scale of a kilometer that could host a real serious gold deposit? And that's what I think we're putting together right now. So hopefully we'll have that those results out, along with perhaps a more detailed plan on what we want to do at Katy in terms of drilling and timelines soon. But that's all taking shape.
Okay. Yeah, this story it's really come together in the last month. Now, I mean, it's easy to get lost in details because there's so many surveys and so much stuff you're doing on different projects. Is there any specific survey or sort of layer of data on one of these projects that you think is particularly important that shareholders should be watching for to see what comes of this survey on that property? Like, is there anything that jumps out at you as being really important? Yeah,
so there are two kind of fundamental data sets at the project or even district scale that we like to do on these projects. One is airborne hyperspectral mineral mapping, which gives us an idea of the zonation of alteration minerals and can very rapidly, directly detect types of alteration minerals that tend to be associated with the structures we're after. And the other one is an on the ground CSAMT resistivity profile. So that's a classic tried and true epithermal vein exploration technique, which basically allows us to see, in many cases on these projects, we have a big silica cap. And it can be difficult to distinguish geological features in that silica cap because everything is so altered. But what CSAMT allows you to do is look for high resistivity, meaning silicified vertical features that might be feeding that silica cap. And so what you're looking for is not just a tabular silica zone. You're looking for places where that extends down to depth. And CSAMT is very effective at that. And that we're undertaking a big CSAMT survey at Midas North right now. And we've got just some preliminary data coming in right now that it looks like it's doing the trick. We're very happy with the quality of the data and the.
I really like that property. When you guys picked that thing up last year, I was like, that is a great looking project. These guys have got a set of great looking projects. I mean, it's a very talented exploration team. 10 projects, all of them get good targets on them. They're all, a lot of them are greenfields, never been drilled. I mean, it's a very impressive set of projects, and now it's been married to a very impressive, very large wallet. And they're just writing the checks for Caleb and his guys to go at it. So Headwater Gold, HWG on the venture, and HGUAF?
HWAUF.
HWAUF in the U.S. on the QB, I think it is. Great story. You're right here on the ground floor right now. The stock's moved a little bit on the Newcrest news, but really it hasn't moved that much, and there's a ton of news coming. Great time to be on this stock right now.